So let's change our index.ejs to make this interactive. Hello world isn't very interactive, so I'm going to get rid of that. And instead, I'm going to create a button. And we've created buttons before. My button, I'm going to assign it a class called create entry. And this button is going to be the button we click on to create a new journal entry about how we exhibited an employability competency in class today, like as part of our employability competency journal app. So the label on this button is going to be create entry. And I'll close that button tag. So there's a small change there. Again, when I save this file or change the focus so it automatically saves, it restarts my web application. At no point today during class do I have to restart my node server. It will restart itself every time I make a change. Super convenient. All right, so here's our button. So if I switch over now to Chrome, refresh this page, there's my create entry button. This is being styled as like a default HTML style for a button. It's not very interesting. It's not very exciting. And it may be unexpected because in header.ejs, we're including style sheets here. We're using something called Pico, and we have our own style sheet. And if I look in all of this type of stuff is up here under assets. Here's CSS. Here's styles.css. There's some styles already here. Here's the Pico one, which includes all sorts of stuff. We're not going to worry so much about that right now. But we expect this button to look different. And it's not. And so you might run into this with your own web application. And the reason is that we have to explicitly tell our Express application that we have certain what are called static assets. Static assets are those things that are not dynamic. They don't change. They're files that get downloaded to the client, to Chrome, and they're things like CSS files that we have up here, images that we're going to use, JavaScript client-side JavaScript files that we're going to use. These are all of our static assets, but we have to tell our Express app where they are, or else it doesn't know where to send them. And to make this connection a little bit more explicit, if I look at the console, notice we have errors here. Like it's trying to do stuff with styles.css, picomin.css, and it can't apply these. And the error here isn't super helpful, but it's basically because it doesn't know where they are. Okay, so we're going to fix this. So the way we fix this is really pretty straightforward. We're going to go back to server.js, and we just need to tell our Express app where our static resources are. So I'm going to say load assets. And for each path, we're going to tell it where those are. So I'm going to say app.use. This is another example of Express middleware. /CSS. So this is saying anytime you see a path that's /CSS and whatever comes after that, those are static assets. And those static assets from the server's perspective are located in the folder assets/CSS. This is another example where it can be challenging for us to keep in our head the server side and the client side. When we call the static function here, we're specifying a path on the server, right? So here's the root of our server. There's a folder called assets. Inside of assets, it's a folder called CSS. Here's all our CSS files. This path is referring to the client's perspective. So when we look in header.ejs, we're saying here's the link to our style sheet. It's /CSS/styles. Notice it's not like /assets. This is a path on the client, from the client's perspective, that's handled by our Express app, not like a path on our actual server. Okay. So that can be, this is part of that client server challenge that we'll be working throughout the year. All right, so back to server.ejs. That's our CSS stuff, but we have other static assets too. So we're going to say, oops, we're going to add middleware for IMG. So we're basically saying for any images, those are static and they're located in the folder, stop popping up, assets/image. And then we're also going to have some client-side JavaScript. And that will be in our JS folder. And that's in assets.js. A common source of frustration is forgetting these 3 lines of code and then not understanding why none of your style sheets are being applied and none of your images are loading and none of your client-side JavaScript is executing. And it's all because we just forgot to tell our Express app where those files are. So now if you switch back to Chrome and refresh, ooh, we have a very wide blue button. So we'll have to work on some styling stuff. But like clearly our style sheets are being applied. Our console has no errors in it anymore. That's really great. And so that's in a good place. Yeah. Oh, don't even bother looking at those files. Yeah, it's probably like they're like condensed to make them more efficient to load and stuff, and I don't think they're really human readable even. So yeah, don't worry about it. Let's put an image in here. That'd be cool. Let's add an image. So let's go back to index.ejs. We already have the button. So let's add an image up here before the button. So I'm going to do IMG. We've done image stuff in HTML before. I'm going to specify the source. And again, the source is going to be from the perspective of the client. So I'm not going to start with assets. I'm going to start with image because we already added the middleware saying, hey, any endpoint that starts with image, has that static asset. And our file is se-github-image.png. We should always give our images alt text for screen readers. This is our Husky Code logo. I want to change its width and height, so I'm going to change those attributes. Our width will be 100 pixels wide. Our height will be 100 pixels tall. And then I close my tag. Oh, look, nice. When I save it, it reformats it, makes it a little more readable. While we're here, let's add our top level header. So we're going to do H1, and we're going to call this the Employability Competencies Journal. That's the name of our application. Excuse me. Let's take a quick look at what this looks like. Refresh this again. Get rid of the console. There we go. We have a logo. We have a header. We have a button. starting to look like a real web app. Not really, but we'll get there. All right.